Welcome back to How to Cake It. I'm Yolanda, and this week I am making a pink construction hat because I'm handy. I'm making this pink construction hat in honor of the women's build, which is part of Habitat for Humanity. To make my pink construction hat, I baked 12 pounds of my ultimate vanilla cake and I dyed it pink, just like the construction hat. I baked 4 9-inch round pans of vanilla cake, and when they were baked and completely cooled, I removed them and removed the caramelization from the bottom. Now I need Sir Squeeze, of course, to help me simple syrup all 4 layers of my cake. He matches the cake very nicely. I should just wear a pink construction hat when I'm caking.
You should.
Right?
Yep.
What if a crumb flies onto my head? Serious.
And when you make really tall cakes, there's always a risk of avalanche.
Shh. We don't talk about that.
Okay, sorry, I'm sorry.
Gotta go back to my Zen place. Okay. Once my simple syrup has soaked in, I then spread Italian meringue buttercream onto my cake layers and fill and stack my cake. And chill it. If I choose to fill my cake before carving, I always like to chill it so that my buttercream can set and it makes carving a whole lot easier. Anything for less mess. That's what I should just wear a t-shirt that says less mess.
Less mess, yep.
I mean, that's the thing I believe in the most. Once my cake is nicely chilled, I begin to carve my construction hat. I made myself an oval template because you know I love templates. I begin carving the cake by shaping the oval around and sort of rounding down all the way around the cake. I'm not going to worry about the brim. Do you think this is a brim?
Yeah.
And the sort of border around the hat at the moment. I'm just going to worry about the main oval dill. When I'm happy with the shape of my cake, I then want to carve sort of an indent around the bottom because I want this gray piece to be set in from the hat. I don't know what it is. If you know, if you're actually handy and you know, please write it below in the comments. Do you know, Cody?
I would call it like the skeleton.
Skeleton? Why not the skull? It should be the skull of the construction head.
Skull? You really love horror films. I feel like you always go there. Now that I have my perfect oval with a sort of indent at the bottom, I'm very happy. It's time to crumb coat and chill this cake. Now that my crumb coat is completely chilled, I'm going to ice this cake one more time and chill it. I noticed when I was icing it, at this point it really looks like a racing hat. It really looked like a racing hat at this point. I used my small offset spatula to help me ice around the bottom indent of my cake. I find if I use a big spatula and I'm trying to get into a groove, I can't really feel what I'm doing. It's like holding a pencil and holding like the top of the pencil where the eraser is and trying to write. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't feel it. You know you're icing, but you're not sure if you're really doing a good job.
You have to become one with the cake.
You must be as close and bonded with your cake as possible. While my cake is chilling, I'm going to start to make these details of the construction hat. To do this, I mixed some CMC into my hot pink fondant because I want the fondant to be strong. I want to make these parts and lay them on the cake, and I need them to set up before I cover the whole cake. So what I did is I used that fondant that I mixed with CMC. For the bands, I rolled it out to the same thickness that I measured. And then I placed them in the fridge just to chill a little bit so that when I cut, I get a nice straight cut. And for these parts, I rolled my fondant in 3 pieces to the correct thickness. And I chilled the fondant as well. Once my fondant is nicely chilled, I use a sharp knife and a ruler, and I cut out these pieces. I cut the same width that they are, and for the bands, I used a ruler and cut the same shape that is on the hat. Now that I'm happy with all of the details that I've made for this construction hat, I'm gonna place them back in the fridge so they stay nice and chilled and set up. It's time to address the indent at the bottom of my hat. I previously dyed some gum paste to the correct gray color, and then I just rolled it out and created 2 bands to cover the bottom indent. The reason I chose to use gum paste is because I know that later on, the lip, oh, that's what I should have called it, the lip
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I knew that the lip of the hat, which would be pink fondant, would be sort of resting on that gray. That's why I chose gum paste. It's stronger, it dries harder, and I need something solid so that my fondant lip just doesn't droop down.
Saggy fondant.
Sag. Don't talk to me about sag. You keep talking about things I don't like. Cake avalanches, saggy fondant. Now it's time to recreate the brim of the hat because the brim is actually quite thin. So once again, I chose not to carve this out of cake. So I use more of my pink fondant with CMC and I roll out a cord and then I use my small rolling pin to create a band that is sort of thinner at the front and thicker at the back where it meets the hand, where it meets the hat, and I sort of press it gently up against the hat. And of course, I created a template. It was actually really easy because I just traced this onto a piece of paper and I used that template to cut this shape. I also want to create some more support for this lip of the hat when I cover it. So I roll out more of that CMC pink fondant into a long band that would go from brim to brim. I trimmed the band to the appropriate thickness and using a little bit of clear piping gel brushed onto the top of my gray gum paste, I attached that band all the way around. Now I can add the detailed pieces to my hat. Again, I use a fabric measuring tape which matched completely. There were so many parts of this video that I was like, Cody, everything on the table is pink. My fabric measuring tape is pink, my knife handle is pink, the hat was pink, the fondant was pink. It was like pink, 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 pink. Once I measure and I know where all the pieces should go, I just simply press them into the side of the hat so that the top band would stick to the bottom band. I brushed on a little bit of clear piping gel and then laid on the top band.
So this is the details coming on the naked cake.
Yes, because this is made in a mold. So I could have covered the cake and then added the details, but then what would we have? Seams. And the seam hider took the day off today. Women's Build is an organization that brings women together to help less fortunate women. So it's time to bring our girl power strength and help others. Shouldn't we bring women power? There's something about women power. It doesn't sound as cool as girl power. Spice Girls, we know it's,
That's what
we know. So it's time to bring forward our girl power strength and help others. There are so many ways to get involved and help, so check the description below for more information. If you notice, this pink construction hat has these 4 like loops. I have no idea what they're for. I just know they're a part of the hat, so I need to make them. So I'm gonna use a little bit of my pink CMC fondant and roll it nice and thin. And then I used a letter I cutter. I wanted to use the rounded end. So I cut out some letter I's, cut them in half. And then I used a small round piping tip to cut the hole. And in order to add these to the hat later on, I wanted them to be bent, if you know what I mean. So in order to do that, I need them to dry already bent. So I set them on a cake board with a small square cake pan, made sure to grease the outside of my pan so they don't stick, so they would dry in like an L formation.
this construction head is a huge construction.
You know? It's time to cover the cake. Roll my fondant nice and thin, drape it over the hat, and then I instantly begin to work these fingertips and help guide the fondant into all these grooves and also just smoothing it around the whole cake and onto the brim. At this point, if I have like a crease or a rip or it'll be so noticeable. There's nothing to hide. So I keep working, sweating, worrying to guide the fondant where I want it to go. The other thing that worries me is if there's too much excess fondant sort of hanging, it can start to pull. So I want to start to slowly trim away the excess fondant, but not too close to the hat because that's going to be my lip and I need to pay extra attention to how I trim this excess fondant. Because I've been working on the cake for a while, the fondant is getting sort of soft, so I decided to just cool it down, my head and my cake, stick it in the fridge, and let that sort of lip of fondant chill. This way I'll get a much cleaner cut. My fondant is nice and chilled. I'm going to remove my cake from the fridge again and just do the same thing. Measure with a fabric measuring tape, make the marks, and cut slowly all around my cake to create an even lip. Now I'm very happy.
Nice.
Not only does the lip just extend from the cake, but it sort of folds up. So in my mind, I thought the perfect way to recreate that is with a clay extruder. I extrude a quart of fondant and I glue it onto the lip of my cake, the edge of the lip, with a little bit of clear piping gel. If any excess fondant sticks out under your lip, like if you look from the side and you feel like it's too thick, again, you can chill your cake, or if it's still cold, use a sharp paring knife to just on an angle sort of trim that excess fondant away. You want this band around the hat to look as even as possible, which sounds simple, but was not. Just takes patience. It takes patience, that's all. Some of us have more than others.
Who doesn't have patience? Who?
She's not here right now.
Oh, you're talking about Jocelyn.
There's one tiny detail on this hat I haven't addressed yet, and that is that there's an indent on either side. So I'm going to recreate that indent with a sculpting tool, just pressing a line into the hat very carefully. Guys, we have a super fun sale going on at howtocakeit.com, especially if you love surprises. Click here to select your size of a t-shirt or a hoodie, and we will send you a surprise design at 50% off. Let's make this Habitat for Humanity logo. To do this, I'm gonna roll out some white gum paste nice and thin on a nonstick board with my small rolling pin. And then I printed this logo and I traced over it with some tracing paper. And then what I like to do is just carefully lay that tracing paper onto my gum paste, and with a very light hand, I sort of trace over the image. Once I can faintly see the lines of the logo, I use some food coloring markers to carefully write out the words Habitat for Humanity and draw these nice people, these helpful nice people, and this green roof. $10, Jocelyn won't let you keep the patience clip.
Nope, I'll put it in.
Let's bet. I think she will lose her patience when she sees this clip. Hi, Jocelyn! So while the marker is drying, I'm gonna paint my construction hat. I mix the same pink food coloring that I used in the batter and mix it with some clear food grade alcohol, and then I just very carefully brush it over the entire hat. So it just adds a little to the color and then adds a bit of shine. Let's add this logo to my pink construction hat cake. And guys, please subscribe to this channel. I make cakes every Tuesday, and if you want to see every one, subscribe. I brush a little bit of clear piping gel onto the back of my logo. I'm so afraid to wreck it that I don't even turn it upside down. I just hold it right side up and brush my piping gel underneath, and then very carefully press it onto the hat. Oh, I have to add the little loopy things. Yeah.
Loopy things.
The loopy things, clearly. That sit outside the skeleton and under the ledge. It's time to slice into this cake so I can taste it and share it with everyone. Don't forget to check the description below to learn more about the women's build. You can find out if there's one in your area. And please leave a comment if you've ever participated or plan on it, or if you think it just sounds great. Click here to watch a step-by-step tutorial of my sushi cakes, and here to watch a surprise inside cakes compilation. Bye guys! I hit myself in the face with my wave. I can't be part of the royal family. I'm like, bye guys. Bye guys. I will see you next Tuesday, and I'm gonna work on my wave.